Good morning, everyone. I hope the week has kept you well, and I hope the day and the week finds you just as well. Okay, I wanted to take a moment and show some new features that I had put into the FOMOD utility. One of the things I had noticed, let me bring it up here real quick. Okay, so one of the things I noticed with it is that if you, let me just do a drag and drop here. Um, again, it's good old Jose. I use it so much as example. All right, so but anyways, so the way that I had designed it, because I didn't really work with foam mods, it was just something where I had an idea, and what I would do is I would make like a place marker code where it worked in the flow, and then I would go back to it, and then and it's like it's kind of like as my understanding grew, I was doing other things, and then as my knowledge kind of increased, I would go back and try different things. And I really didn't have a chance to visit it until probably, I don't know, maybe I think last month, and then I finally got to where, it kinda works, and that's what I've been doing. I haven't uploaded it yet. It is coming close because 'cause I've actually been testing it. And if anybody wants to actually, I mean, anybody can test it because I upload the source code with it, with the actual package. So you can just compile it. The only thing that's pre-compiled is the libraries. And the only reason I didn't leave the source, the only reason I haven't uploaded the source code to that yet is because I have to finish the libraries. Some of the code is messy, some of it doesn't work. And it's too difficult to document what doesn't work as opposed to what does. And, everything being in an assembly means it looks like it's available. Okay. So, what I was thinking today, I was actually thinking today, believe believe it or not, during a cup of coffee, I was sitting there thinking, "Hey, I got this great idea." But if you take a look, you'll actually notice up here, and I had mentioned before, where it actually will show whether you want to select all, select one, or select any. And it was just the same color as every other title. So I'm thinking, okay, hang on a second. So it's not easy to glance at visually to see maybe the importance of the rule of select one, select all. And it's not so much a rule per se. It just means that, if you install more than one option, then like you may not need a patch, let's say for plugin A, but you need a patch for plugin B. And if you select them all, you're going to have both patches in your load order. Now the game doesn't really care because if a program, if something is an orphan file, if you ever looked at the game's load order, I don't know how Xbox does it. I'm assuming Xbox and PS, 4 and 5 are the same. Uh, I, if you looked at the load order, like if you, I imagine if you went into the mod list, like your activated mods in those on the consoles, it would literally show, that it's deactivated. But if you look on a PC, if you look at the actual plugin list, you can see at the top where, there like, let's say because this is a Skyrim SE Special Edition or Fallout 4, active plugins have an asterisk in front of the plugin name. So if you notice at the top of the list, there will be plugins that don't have an asterisk that it seems like the game automatically put up there. Those are plugins that do not have they're missing a dependency. But if it's at the bottom of the load order, then it means, and it has no asterisk and you didn't put it there, that means it has all the dependencies that it needs, but and they could also be in the middle of the load order too, depending on what type of plugin it is. Whether it's a master file, a light, an ESL file or flat, or an ESP, or an ESP flag is light, but they're pretty much the same. And so they could appear anywhere in that list. And as an example, I'll just like, for example, I'll have a patch, right? So let's say I'm going through a FOMOD like this, and I've got like a patch, or let's say I'm going through a FOMOD for a mod, and it has like 20 patches in it. Now I don't have all those mods in my game. So the patches won't be necessary, but I don't want to go back and run this FOMOD again. I kind of like to minimize It was a something I learned where I work. The less hand, it's like I used to work in a warehouse, believe it or not. And I was talking to one of the people on the floor, and they said you really don't want to, if when it comes to boxes, the least amount of times you handle it, the better. So if they're going to move a box from point A to point B, they don't want to move it from point B to point C to point D, point D to point E. So, and I thought that's a really good idea. So the less times I have to do the same thing, the better off I'm going to be, because that time can be spent doing other really cool creative things. So I thought, okay, so what I do is I select all the mods I think I'm going to put in my game, which means it's going to install plugins that do not have those mods, the parent mod yet, the master. So they're missing a dependency, and they could even be missing another dependency that's not necessarily master. It could be like a ESP, but it requires on another ESP, not an ESM, let's say, per se. So it will show it at the top, but it's still there. So when I install the mod, I can now go up to the top, grab that plugin, and pull it down where I want it to go. I can kind of show you real quick. And I know this is way, 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 way off topic, but let me show you real quick. So let's go over here to where are we? Let me try this way, maybe. Where? Virtovia. Ay, 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 ay. Here. Gosh, it's a really small print. Okay, so when I install the patches, you'll actually see them up here. See, I didn't put these up here. The game did. So, but they're there. They're installed in the data folder. They're just not active. See, these are active for Skyrim SE, and I don't know if I have any at the bottom. I'll check. No, I don't. So let's say that all of a sudden I put in, let's look at this, cloaks. So I go ahead and install the cloaks mod, and I put it in the load order. I can now activate this and move this down. So this way it allows me to literally just slam the data folder, and I don't necessarily know if it's a good idea, but it hasn't hurt anything, and I think it really depends on what you put in it. I mean, you don't want to put a bunch of loose files, like let's say meshes and textures, things like that, because that will override existing meshes and could definitely break something. Um, but yeah, all that aside, let me try to. But yeah, you're welcome. Anybody's always welcome to ask me anything, and I will do the best I can to answer. Okay, so back on to this application. So this is a style. This is actually a style. Again, it's not an image, it's just a style. And that allows accessibility for more people. You just go in and type in a text file. Everybody can do that, but people may not know how to make a file. Maybe there's a limit to the file size for let's say an image. So there's a lot of there's a lot of constructs and constrictions that might apply to something, or restrictions, and they may not understand that. So a text file just simplifies it and makes it easier. So in effect, what I did is I just simply took a style, and I'll show you the code in case you're interested in actually looking at it or modifying it. The code is I actually had to familiarize myself with this. I went off and I've been modding Skyrim so much I haven't been able to do much of anything else, and then all of a sudden I'm thinking, wait a minute, I need to go back and fix this. Um, but if you take a look right here, right here, okay. So this is where I leveraged the style method, and that's in the utilities library. So all that's there. So in a sense, all I'm doing is looking up the group type name. So if you go over here and you take a look at the style info, let's see. Let me see here, right here. So this is the styles override in the FOMOD utility any. So this is where you specify the header text, but it can, and I had mentioned before, it can be more than just header text. It's really just an identifier, a keyword. It's an identifier. So you can see select all, select any, um, select at least one, select exactly one. You can see this. And I went ahead and left these in here. where it's got, well, we can change this to, let's see, this one is select any. So while I'm here, let me go ahead and make that any. This is just for documentation purposes. Let's put select any. Okay, we'll save this back. And again, these little individual apps, they don't really hot load. If you want to hot load, it's super easy, and I can make a quick video to show how that's done. It's super easy. Um, and I'll make some more videos here shortly to kind of show how you can leverage some of the library features to really code your own stuff. Okay, all right. So here you can see we got select all, select any, and you can see these are the actual options that are shown in the FOMOD itself. So that's what actually shows here, where you got select one. Okay. So all I did is I looked up in the style database. I just simply looked it up, select one. That's the text. And then this is where it actually put the group type, because group type is what you see over here. See, this is group type. So it grabs it up here. So this was here. So then what I wanted to do, what you want to do is you want to make sure it can find the style before you override it. And the way that I wrote that method is that if you try to locate a style, it'll give you a default, but it also will tell you that it couldn't find what you're looking for, and then therefore you can choose whether or not you want to use it. And then it simply calls another method, which is update report item. So the way that the reporting system works, and all of these are just what I call reports. The message is a report. It's all reporting. Uh, it's all uses the exact same library methods. So what is good for one is good for all. Okay, so all you're really doing is you're specifying the report list, which contains items that are going to be built into this list view. It's literally what's going to be built into this list view. And then you're saying, if I can find the style, then I want to update the very last item. That's what this does. And the reason I did this is because I wound up having there's other code locations where I wanted to update the last item to specifically change how something looked given what the item was. And I couldn't do it prior to that. So it was just it just added a little bit more extensibility. So that's the report. This is the list of pre-list view items that's going to be built into the list view. And I'm simply giving it the styles color and even the image if it's specified. And that's it. That was really the only change. I put this in and this in. I changed so that way as you're navigating through your FOMOD, you can see that select exactly one has a different color scheme than select any. So this way, a person could look at that and say, "Ooh, you know what? Uh, you're giving me the option." And of course, I know that many FOMODs, the FOMOD utility, would almost assume that I don't want to give too much flexibility because somebody's gonna go through and click them all. And that can happen. I mean, it can happen. It can happen even if, it can happen. So, and I understand, I think the way the original mod author had designed full mods, he wanted to make it so that it was almost guaranteed to work provided you selected the right options. So I personally like to be able to see everything that's available, and if I only wanna go by what options I select, then I can just simply go here and click start and do next. This bypasses it. So if I was to go up here and I go in here and I select, let's say this shows all available steps, whether it's part of what you select or not. It just shows you everything. And then this actually should, if it should, that's why I'm testing it now. And so far it's worked okay, but there could be something else in there I've missed. But so far, it does show you the next available step that is based on your previous selections. So this is how you would use this navigate bar for that. But if you know what you're doing or you just want to try something out, knock yourself. I mean, I do all the time. Just see how it works because programming is almost cause and effect. if you're troubleshooting, it's cause and effect. So you have an effect. Let's say your game crashes, you have an effect. What caused it? Well, you have to try to figure out in a way, at least been my experience over the years, is I have to find out what works. So once I know what works, I can compare what works to what didn't work, and then I can differentiate between the two. That's almost what you have to do because other than that, you're just taking massive stabs in the dark and you're just kind of blindly taking leaps in directions that may or may not solve the issue. So that's at least from my experience what I saw, what I've learned. But all this does, again, all this really does is just add style information through just a cut, just really like two lines of code plus I think a conditional check uh, that really allows this to be this. And you can change this to any color you want. You can make these any color you want. I probably missed one here, but I'll upload the package with just this. And again, it's not really an image. I don't have anything against images, but to me, images are too restrictive. You have to be able to, I don't know what format it is and, all of that. This literally lets you freeform however you want it, and it adjusts accordingly. All right. Oh, and the other thing I added was one thing I had noticed. If I didn't select, like if you look at the folder over here, you can see the folder here. If you look at this, you'll notice that I didn't select anything. And I actually had to change. So, like, let's say I go to build. If you take a look, I've selected nothing. So we'll go through the whole process. See, I select nothing, I select nothing, and there's nothing to auto build that I know of. So you can, when you normally click build, if you went back to the folder here, this would all be gone because it would say, okay, you're done. You've built it, and I had to change that for drag and drop. I had to change that. So if somebody leaves it up on their screen, if you leave it up on your screen and you can constantly, you can just drag all this stuff over to it. And it literally just takes each one as it goes. You don't have to like run it again and again and again. Uh, I needed to clear this out because if, for example, but one of the downsides is if you click build and then you change your ID on your options, you can't easily go back. Well, you can't go back without re-extracting the actual mod file. You have to re-extract the archive file. Otherwise, it won't work because there's nothing in there to work with. And so I actually put one other change in, and the other change is it's a function. So in the install, what I did was I had to put one variable. I basically put this variable here, and if you have any required mods, anything that's basically required, it will, if it finds it, it will increase the count of, let's say, mods that were built. You could call it like there's a little tag in there that says like required. So it'll actually keep count of that. It'll also take count of your selections. See, and it will conditional installs, and it keeps track of conditional installs. So the line I put in was this. So I put the extra variable in, and I literally said if comment count. So if the FOMOD did something, if the FOMOD utility did something, then clean the folder up. Otherwise, it's just going to fall through. Otherwise, don't. And that was the one change I thought, oh, I need to do that because I noticed when I was just buzzing through this, and then I went to click build, and I didn't select anything, and then I went back over to the folder. All this was gone because it assumed I actually built a folder. You're done. Um, okay, so that's kind of that. Yeah. So like I said, I hope everybody has a good week. And I've got some things I got to work on. I'm mostly trying to mod my Skyrim game at the moment, and I do want to make a video. I was really surprised at the intro, and I don't want to really put extra time in this video talking about. I'll make another one for that. I'll actually make a video and record it and upload it. But it's the first time I'd actually seen Helgen destroyed like this, and it's I was just simply using JK Skyrim, Relight, not relighting Skyrim, but Relight. It's a DLL that actually removes all light sources, and then you can do the add-on feature, which puts light sources, uh, we're, like, on a candle or a flame, and then I increase the particle count to 6,000, and the whole place had embers flying everywhere. Like, I'd never seen that before. It looked really, really cool. Alright, guys, I'm gonna hop here. I've got a few things I gotta do and get my morning or afternoon started, actually. So I hope you guys having a good day, and, if you need anything, you're always welcome to hit me up or drop me a line, and I'll see what I can do to help. Alright, everyone. I hope you have a good one.